You know that feeling you get in a conversation when you just know there's something else going on right beneath the surface? We put so much focus on the words people say, but honestly, most of our communication happens in the silence, in the small gestures, in the spaces between the words. So let's explore how to read that hidden language together.
And this quote from the management guru, Peter Drucker, it hits the nail on the head. Every single interaction we have has this hidden layer, this unspoken story that tells you a much deeper, more honest truth than the words themselves. It's a skill, and it's one we're going to learn. That's the real question, isn't it? This isn't about just hearing noises. It's about truly listening with all of your senses. It's about becoming a kind of detective of human behavior. And in this explainer, we're going to uncover the clues people leave behind, a lot of the time without even realizing it.
Okay, so our first set of clues comes from the most honest storyteller there is, the human body. Think about it. Long before we had words, we had body language. And the fascinating thing is, we never stopped using it. Our bodies are constantly broadcasting our true feelings, even when our words are trying to tell a different story.
So yeah, that's the official term for it, nonverbal communication. It's everything from a tiny little frown to the way someone is standing across the room. It is the raw, completely unfiltered data stream of human emotion. Learning how to tune into that is step one to becoming a better observer of people. So, what should you actually be looking for? Well, the first clue is tiny, but it is so powerful. Microexpressions. These are these split-second flashes of real emotion, a flicker of anger, a brief moment of sadness that happen before a person's poker face comes back on. A great way to practice spotting these, by the way, is to watch interviews on TV with the sound off. Next, look for mismatches. Is someone saying yes, but their arms are crossed tight against their chest? That's a conflict, and it's worth noticing. And finally, watch their personal space. When someone leans in, that usually means they're engaged. Leaning away, that can signal discomfort.
And this right here, this shows that conflict in action perfectly. The words are saying, "I'm fine," but the body is practically screaming, "I am not fine." You see the tense shoulders, the clenched hands, that restless foot. All of those are telling a much more authentic story. This disconnect is exactly what we're looking for.
All right, so let's move on to our second set of clues, and you'll see how this all builds. We're shifting from the body to the voice, because it's not just what people say that matters, it's how they say it. The rhythm, the tone, the words they choose, they all carry hidden messages. Now, to spot these messages, you first need to understand what's normal for that person. This is what we call their verbal baseline. Think about your most energetic, fast-talking friend. If you ask them about their day and suddenly they start speaking very slowly with these long pauses, that change, that deviation from their baseline, it's a huge signal that there's more to the story.
So here's the process. Once you have a sense of someone's baseline, you can start listening for specific vocal tells. Pay close attention to qualifiers. These are words or phrases that kind of weaken a statement. When someone starts a sentence with, "to be honest," it can, ironically, be a sign that they're choosing their next words very carefully. And then, listen for deflection. This is a classic avoidance move. If you ask a direct question and they immediately change the subject or answer with a question of their own, they might be putting up a verbal shield for a reason.
It's in these subtle shifts and these quiet little moments that the real story often shows itself. And remember, this isn't about interrogating someone. It's about patient observation. It's about developing a totally different kind of attention, one that's built on curiosity, not on judgment. It just requires you to look and to listen a little bit closer.
Okay, for our final clue, we need to zoom all the way out. A person's behavior, their body language, their words, none of it happens in a vacuum. The environment and the situation they're in are constantly providing information that shapes everything they do and say. I mean, think about it. Is their desk totally chaotic, or is it meticulously organized? That tells the story. And what about the social context? Of course, someone's going to behave very differently when they're with their boss compared to when they're with their best friend. Understanding those pressures helps you interpret their behavior much more accurately. This really says it all, doesn't it? To truly understand someone, you have to try and see the world they're living in that specific moment. Because context isn't just background noise. It's a fundamental part of their story.
So we've gathered all these clues from the body, the voice, the context. But now what? What do we do with them? Well, the goal isn't just to collect facts about someone. It's about weaving them all together into a more coherent and more compassionate understanding of the person right in front of you. And this might be the most important takeaway of all. The art of reading people is not some kind of superpower for judging or manipulating them. It's a tool for empathy. It's about trying to understand their perspective, their feelings, their reality, and that's what allows for deeper, more meaningful connections. So, from the tiny flicker of a microexpression to the subtle shift in a person's voice, all the way to the bigger social context they're in, we've gone over the key clues to look for. Each one is a piece of a larger puzzle. And when you start to see how they all fit together, you move beyond just observing a person. You start to truly understand their story. And that leaves us with one final thought. As you become more aware of the signals that other people are sending, you're going to inevitably become more aware of your own. What's your body language saying right now? What subtext is in your voice? Because you're telling a story too. The only question is, are you aware of what it's saying?